At auction these days, Pablo Picasso, Gerhard Richter, Jean-Michel Basquiat, Andy Warhol, and a slew of other well-known artists reigned supreme. But this wasn't always the case. Before the previous several decades, the Old Masters category, which includes painters who lived between the 14th and 18th centuries, was the only thing on everyone's mind. Despite the fact that its popularity has faded, the category has established a number of auction records. Public auctions and high-profile private museum purchases of works by art historical heavyweights such as Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael, Rembrandt, and Peter Paul Rubens, among others, have gotten a lot of attention, with paintings selling for hundreds of millions of dollars. In recent years, major private sales of masterpieces have propelled the genre to unprecedented heights. In 2019, J. Tomlinson Hill, the former chairman of private equity firm Blackstone, was revealed as the buyer of Caravaggio's Judith beheading Holofernes, ca. 1607, in a last-minute behind-the-scenes deal made just before the work was set to go up for auction in Toulouse, France, with a $170 million estimate. Hill has never stated how much he paid for the job. In 2003, the Getty Museum in Los Angeles purchased Titian's portrait of Alfonso D. Avalos with a page, 1533, which depicts an armored general, for $70 million in a private deal with France's AXA Insurance Group, which had loaned it to the Louvre for more than a decade prior to the Getty's acquisition. On January 28, 2021, a Sandro Botticelli image from the possession of the late real estate billionaire Sheldon Solo sold at Sotheby's in New York for $92.2 million, bringing the Old Masters category back into the limelight. Below is a list of the top market-defining Old Masters sales, in order to compare it to the others. We even have a bonus Old Masters artwork included in our list today for you. And remember, if you enjoy the video, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to our channel. 11. Jacopo Pontormo. Portrait of a Halberdier, 1529–1530. Price realized, $35.2 million. Italian mannerist Jacopo Pontormo's 16th century picture of a young man in military uniform, sold at Christie's New York in 1989. It sold for $35.2 million to the J. Paul Getty Museum in California. It was predicted to sell for $20 million and was thought to be a portrait of Florentine Duke Cosimo de' Medici or nobleman Francesco Guardi. The previous record for an Old Master painting sold at auction, Andrea Mantegna's Adoration of the Magi, which sold for $10.5 million at Christie's in 1985, was more than quadrupled at the time of the sale. The picture has been on display at the Frick Collection since 1970 before coming to auction. Executors for New York philanthropist Chauncey Devereaux Stillman's estate sold it. 10. Francesco Guardi. Venice, a view of the Rialto Bridge, looking north, 1760s. Price realized, £26.7 million, $43 million. In 2011, Sotheby's in London sold a gigantic 18th century painting depicting a vista of Venice by Italian painter Francesco Guardi for a record price of £26.7 million, $43 million, to an unknown bidder. The artwork was painted in the mid-1760s and handed down through generations of the Guinness family before being auctioned off. It surpassed expectations, selling for little more than the £25 million projection. 9. J. M. W. Turner. Modern Rome, Campo Vaccino, 1839. Price realized, £29.7 million, $44.9 million. Modern Rome, Campo Vaccino by J. M. W. Turner sold for £29.7 million at Sotheby's in 2010, the second highest price ever paid for a British artist at auction. Hazlitt, Gooden & Fox, a Los Angeles-based art dealer, won the auction on behalf of the Getty Museum, where the picture currently hangs permanently. On the occasion of the acquisition, Scott J. Schaefer, the Getty's curator of paintings at the time, told the New York Times that it was the finest Turner of all time. The piece represents an Italian city and serves as a showcase for Turner's technical skill. It was sold from the Rothschild family collection. In the 171 years after it was finished, the artwork has only been sold once before the Sotheby's auction. 8. J. M. W. Turner. Rome, from Mount Aventine, 1836, price realized, £30.3 million, $47.6 million. J. M. W. Turner's Rome, from Mount Aventine established a new record for the artist when it sold for £30.3 million, $47.6 million, at Sotheby's London in December 2014. Turner's painting, which was originally produced for his friend and publisher John Pye, sold for a sum that made him the most valuable pre-20th century British artist of all time. 7. Raphael. Head of a Young Apostle, 1519 to 1521. Price realized, £29.7 million, $47.8 million. A 16th century artwork by the Renaissance great Raphael sold for $47.8 million in December 2012 at the Sotheby's London sales room following a 17-minute fight between 4 bidders. The stunning transaction shattered the artist's previous auction record, more than double the pre-sale estimate. The piece garnered a result 3 times its pre-sale low estimate of £10 million when it was sold from the prestigious Devonshire collections at Chatsworth House in Bakewell, England, where it had been since the early 18th century. It was made as a study for the artist's last work, The Transfiguration, a biblical tableau housed in the Vatican Museum. 6. Raphael. Head of a Muse, 1510. Price realized, £29.1 million, $48 million. Raphael was commissioned by Pope Julius II's court to create paintings for the Stanza della Segnatura, the papal library and private office, in the early 16th century. The Parnassus, a fresco for the Vatican representing the fabled account of Mount Parnassus, where the deity Apollo dwelt with the 9 muses, was produced as a preliminary sketch during Raphael's preparation for one of the Renaissance's greatest achievements, the Parnassus. In 1725, it was first documented in the hands of Dutch collector Goswinus Eulenbroek, after which it passed through the hands of Sir Thomas Lawrence, an artist and notable Old Master drawings collection, and then to King William II of Holland. The piece, which was the final drawing linked to Raphael's Vatican contract that was still privately held, was originally auctioned in 2009 at Christie's, when it was split between 2 buyers. It eventually sold for £29 million, nearly twice its estimate of £16 million, to an anonymous phone bidder. 5. Peter Paul Rubens. Lot and His Daughters, 1613 to 1614. Price realized, £44.9 million, $58.2 million. Lot and His Daughters by Peter Paul Rubens, a biblical painting depicting Lot's seduction by his daughters during the family's exile, sold for £44.9 million at Christie's in London in 2016. The painting had previously been in the collections of high-profile people such as the Holy Roman Emperor Joseph and John Churchill, the first Duke of Marlborough, and had been in a private collection for more than a century. The Rubens masterwork is on long-term loan at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, having been purchased by a charity organization during Christie's summer auction. 4. Peter Paul Rubens. Massacre of the Innocents, 1611 to 1612. Prize realized, £49.5 million, $76.5 million. In July 2002, Sotheby's sold Rubens' rediscovered painting Slaughter of the Innocents for £49.5 million, $76.5 million, depicting a biblical scenario of a terrible massacre in Bethlehem. The painting, formerly ascribed to the Flemish painter Jan van den Hoek and valued at £4 million to £6 million, blew beyond its estimate at the auction house's London site, selling for £45 million to Canadian businessman and art collector Kenneth Thompson. He later gave it to the Art Gallery of Ontario in Toronto, where it was included in a 2019 exhibition of Rubens' early work, which also went to the Legion of Honor in San Francisco. 3. Sandro Botticelli. Portrait of a Young Man Holding a Roundel, 1480. Price realized, $92.2 million. Portrait of a Young Man Holding a Roundel by Italian Renaissance painter Sandro Botticelli sold for a record-breaking $92.2 million at Sotheby's in New York in January 2021. The rare image, considered to be one of the few secular Botticelli portraits in private hands, sold for $80 million to a Russian client bidding over the phone with Sotheby's London-based expert Lelija Sitnica. The artwork beat the artist's previous record of $10.4 million, set by the sale of the Rockefeller Madonna at Christie's in 2013. It came from the collection of the late real estate magnate Sheldon Solo, who acquired it in 1982 for £810,000, $1.3 million. 2. Rembrandt van Rijn. Pendant portraits of Maarten Soelmans and Eugen Koppit, 1634. Price realized, €160 million, $195 million. On behalf of the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam and the Louvre in Paris, the Dutch and French governments completed a historic joint private purchase of Rembrandt's rare pendant portraits showing Dutch couple Maarten Soelmans and Eugen Koppit in February 2016. The pieces were acquired via a private agreement facilitated by Christie's for prices ranging from €80 million to €100 million apiece. The meticulously painted portraits of the newlyweds, completed in 1634, displayed the sitter's encouragement of the young artist, who was just 28 at the time. The portraits, which are the only full-length Rembrandt paintings known, were formerly in the Rothschild collection in 1878. They had last been publicly shown in 1956 in the Netherlands, prior to the private sale. Despite the fact that the two paintings are owned independently, the institutions have agreed that they would always be shown together owing to French legislation. 1. Leonardo da Vinci. Salvator Mundi, 1500. Price realized, $450.3 million. The auction of Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi, which fetched more than $450 million at Christie's New York in 2016 during a post-war and contemporary art event, was perhaps the most well-publicized art sale in history. Salvator Mundi became the most expensive artwork ever sold at auction after a 19-minute bidding battle. The winning bidder was eventually discovered to be Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who purchased the painting from a private European collection. Christ is seen holding a transparent orb in his left hand and signifying the cross with his right. Long thought to be a copy of a lost Leonardo work, the picture was restored in 2006 and reattributed to the Renaissance artist. The artwork was on show at the National Gallery in London in 2011 before being sold. Despite all of the attention devoted to the painting, many historians disagree that Leonardo painted Salvator Mundi, and it was not included in the Louvre's Leonardo exhibition in 2019.